Can you stand here and do it so we can get you? Can you go up a little bit?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you for showing up here today to demand justice for Michael Jonathan Cortez, known as Jonathan. We're going to start by making sure that everyone here in downtown Oakland today knows who we're here to honor. I'm going to say his name and ask y'all to say Jonathan Cortez. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Okay, that was pretty good for 9:30 in the morning, but let's try that again, y'all. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
I want to make sure that folks all across this pavilion can hear us. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
That's right. No justice.
No peace!
No racist.
Police!
No justice.
No peace!
No racist.
Police!
No justice.
No peace!
No racist.
Police!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
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 Thank you. Again, we're here to honor the life and legacy of Jonathan Cortez, stolen from us by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And we're here today to demand accountability. Because while Jonathan's family and community have been fighting to find out the truth of what happened when a lone FBI agent rushed into a Fruitvale corner store with his gun drawn, our questions have been met by silence by the FBI and the Schaff administration. Before we hear from Jonathan's family and other members of the community, I'm going to briefly recap how we got to where we are today. On September 13th, Jonathan entered a corner store near his house to buy some things. While Jonathan was in the corner store, a lone FBI agent rushed into the store with his gun drawn. Oh, I love you, baby. Let's give it up for Audrey, y'all. According to news articles, this FBI agent looked like he was robbing the place as he entered the store. I'm gonna say that again. This FBI agent looked as if he was robbing the place as he entered the convenience store. This FBI agent, again, who looked like he was robbing the place, shot and killed Jonathan. The FBI then cordoned off the scene before leaving, removing all surveillance equipment from the corner store. And that's the last we've heard from them. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
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 For those of you who are rightfully horrified by what I just told you, unfortunately, the story is not over. Last Thursday, that's right on, baby. Last Thursday was the funeral for Michael Jonathan Cortez. His family and his community gathered in an attempt to celebrate and honor his life and heal collectively from the trauma of their loss. They were not able to do so. Why? Because the FBI showed up to the funeral to intimidate, harass, and threaten members of Jonathan Cortez's family. That's right, the FBI, after murdering Jonathan, showed up to the funeral. Showed up to the funeral in an attempt to criminalize this community and provoke a response. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
This is what law enforcement does when they are in the wrong and have no fear of accountability. I will say that again because we've seen it time and time again. This is what law enforcement does when they are in the wrong and they have no fear of accountability. They attempt to deflect attention from the true atrocity, Jonathan's murder, by engaging in acts intended to destabilize the family and disrupt both their healing and their call for accountability. That is why we are here today to show the FBI, to show this administration, to show the city of Oakland that an attack against the Cortez family is an attack against all of us and the organizations that we represent. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
I'm gonna say that again. An attack against the Cortez family is an attack against all of us and the organizations that we represent. I'm gonna pass it on to our speakers to tell you more about Jonathan's life and legacy, as well as to discuss the consequences of outside law enforcement agencies policing Oakland. Thank you. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
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 You all who are out here, you can say his name too. I give you permission. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Next, I'm going to invite any members of the family who are prepared to speak at this time. And if they prefer another speaker to go first, I'm happy to do that as well.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending. My name is Johnny Wong. I am the uncle of Jonathan Cortez, who was killed by an FBI agent undercover for no reason at all. They've been withholding evidence. They have not turned over any videos whatsoever at all. He was shot one time. They said he had a weapon. There were numerous officials there from Oakland PD, the FBI, United States Marshals. If an individual had a gun, he would have not been shot one time. And also, their protocol is for anybody who gets shot from any police agency, for that person to be an administrative leave. This FBI agent attended our funeral undercover, harassed our family members, and arrested two individuals there, one at the funeral and one at the reception at a dining place where we had it afterwards. They harassed us. They didn't let us mourn in peace. That is just not right. We want justice for my nephew, and we want answers. We want that footage to be released. This is uncalled for, and this is an unjustified homicide by the agency. I ask all to reach out and try to find out anybody involved, anybody has any other footage, to please let it come forward so we can find out why my nephew was killed. I thank you all very much for your time. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much.
Let's give it up again one more time for the uncle of Jonathan Cortez, y'all. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
And again, you've heard lifted up one of the primary demands coming from the Cortez family at this point, which is answers. Answers. So typically in moments like this, families are left without any answers, any of the possessions that their loved one had, anything that can lead them to accountability and transparency as to what has happened. And so since Jonathan was murdered, the family has consistently demanded answers and has been met by silence. It has been 3 weeks. Enough is enough. We need answers, and we need them now. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
I'm going to invite George Galvis from Communities United for Restorative Youth Justice to say a little more about the context in which we find ourselves before returning to the family for more comments. Thank you, George.
Thank you, brother. First and foremost, let me just say I'm deeply saddened, actually, to be here with you all today for yet another murder by law enforcement What we know is that typically these murders occur with impunity. And I want to remind you to kind of think comparatively in a social historical context for a moment, because this is not a new issue. This is an old issue. Many of you know that Oakland Police Department is under federal monitorship because of their abuse. That there were law enforcement gangs known as the Riders just right here in Oakland. We know that there's a law enforcement gang called the Executioners, in which the initiation is to murder somebody. We've seen this with the California Highway Patrol. We've seen it with the sheriffs. And our mayor, Libby Schaaf, has invited more law enforcement agencies into Oakland. One of the ways that the city of Oakland has been able to deflect accountability when police abuse and violence occurs in Oakland is by inviting other agencies to come in. Because it's much harder when you have Hayward Police, or you have Alameda Sheriffs, or you have California Highway Patrol, like the Highway Patrol officer that murdered Eric Salgado last summer. Say his name.
Eric Salgado!
Say his name.
Eric Salgado!
Say his name.
Eric Salgado!
So I want to continue just to remind us that the invitation of additional law enforcement agents translates into more police violence, more police terrorism in our communities. And now that we have federal agencies that have been invited by our mayor, ATF, FBI, well, guess what? Many of us who've been on the front lines of advocacy and working with families who've been directly impacted by police terrorism, we've sponsored legislation. We've had some successes. In fact, 2 days ago, SB 2 was signed so that we can finally decertify officers and not let them bounce from one department to another department. Now, what do we do with federal law enforcement agency? They are those state laws that we've been able to apply. My organization passed a bill, Penal Code 141, makes it a felony for a law enforcement officer to destroy, tamper, or plant physical or digital evidence. Now, we know that the police department and the FBI, they subpoenaed all the video footage related to this murder. FBI has it. State law does not apply to FBI. If they choose to delete that evidence, we have no way of holding them accountable. The right to know. We passed a law, along with APTP and others, that allowed us to know that if a police officer had killed someone, have they killed before? Because we see a pattern of murderous law enforcement officers. When it comes to the FBI, state law does not apply. We do not have the right to know. So time and time again, we can pass all the state legislation we want, but if our mayor is going to invite federal law enforcement into Oakland communities, those laws do not apply. This is just another tactic to deflect accountability, to undermine all the progressive reform for oversight and transparency that has taken place. So I just want to reinforce that point to you. I want to emphasize a few facts that you've already heard. Jonathan was a father of three, a loving father of three. Jonathan had helped counsel and advise others to overcome addiction. Jonathan was not the person in the warrant that the FBI was looking for. He was just in the store purchasing something. And as it's already been illustrated, when the FBI agent came inside the store owner reported that he thought that the FBI agent was there to rob him. So why aren't we getting any information when we know that the law enforcement playbook is to automatically try to dig up dirty laundry? The first thing that they typically do. If Jonathan had farted in 2nd grade, they would have brought that up. You know what I'm saying? If Jonathan had smoked a joint in 6th grade, that would have been brought up. You know what I'm saying? Anything that they have, they would try to do to smear his character, to dehumanize him, to add insult to injury, the way they already have by showing up to the funeral and further terrorizing and harassing the family. So why haven't we heard a peep? Because he was innocent. Because they killed an innocent man, and they're going to try to cover this up. And it's the responsibility of family advocates and you, the media. You all have an incumbent responsibility. You are a part of the democratic process to hold government accountable, to report these issues. Don't just report the press advisory to law enforcement any longer.
That's right.
You have to critically analyze and ask law enforcement these tough questions.
That's right.
That's what we need. Investigative journalism. Don't reinforce the narrative of the police. And we don't need police protection. We need protection from the police.
That's right.
Our organization does violence interruption in the Fruitvale. We're on the front lines. We're there to show up and bury family members that are caught up in violence. And I'm here to say that all violence is state violence. Yes, even the fratricidal violence that happens. Even the fratricidal violence that happens in the Fruitvale, in East Oakland. It occurs out of desperation because there's been disinvestment in our communities. People need food, clothing, and shelter. And our most vulnerable families have been more impacted since this pandemic. And what happens? The police got an increase in their budget. They love to point to the fact that $18 million was redirected to invest in community-led solutions for violence interruption. But guess how much their budget went up by? How much was it? $38 million. $38 million more than their budget was the previous year. So you cannot make a correlation between an increased police budget and increased public safety. I'll say it again, and I will continue to say it. We don't need police protection. We need protection from the police. And if we want to address root causes to really interrupt violence, then let's actually invest in our people, let's invest in communities, and let's stop emboldening these terrorist police who operate and kill with impunity. If we didn't have this happening in our communities, lives would be saved. Jonathan would be here to hug his children. Eric Salgado would be here to hug his child. Oscar Grant would be here to hug his daughter. Stephen Taylor would be here to hug on his grandma. So on and so forth. So many other names I could name. So, one more time, we don't need police protection. We need protection from the police, invest in communities, defund the police. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Hey, there we go. Appreciate you, George, for that context. Next up, we're going to have Jackie, Jonathan's partner, come speak more about who Jonathan is and the atrocities of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Thank you so much for coming here to speak with us today, Jackie.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jackie. Jonathan was my partner. We were there the day that it happened on Fruitvale and Blossom when Jonathan was murdered by federal agents. They just didn't do their job properly, and we are all affected in our community. Jonathan was a big part of our lives. He helped the children in our community. He was such a bright soul for us. Even after all that, the federal agents seemed to still terrorize the family, the Cortez family, even during his funeral, still having to deal with those issues, coming to arrest people during a time where we're just trying to love and appreciate his life. We are all scared. We are all scared that we are going to continue to be terrorized because of this. What happened? We are asking and demanding the footage from the store. We really need answers. My heart goes out to the Cortez family, for sure, and also goes out to the youth in the community that had to witness the murder of Jonathan Cortez. These children are scared. It is heartbreaking to hear the children in our community saying, Auntie, are they going to come after us because we witnessed what happened to Jonathan? How do we answer those questions? What are we going to do? Because the people who are supposed to protect and serve us in our community are the ones that we fear, the ones that are terrorizing us. And we need justice for Jonathan Cortez.
That's right.
Thank you.
Justice for Jonathan! Justice for Jonathan! Justice for Jonathan! Justice for Jonathan!
I hope the gravity of those words was not lost on any of the members of the media. Because in our society, it appears we often have a crisis of empathy. I find it's helpful to ask those of you out here to imagine that you are at a funeral for your loved one who was just stolen, and then the people who are responsible show up with guns and terrorize everyone at the funeral. And you know that they are the ones with the power, they are the ones with the authority, they can lock up everybody on the scene, and did. Again, 2 people that were part of the funeral party were arrested. 2 people who were part of the funeral party were arrested. Right? What message does that send? What message does that send to the people of Oakland about the FBI and their presence here in our city? And again, I'm here to invite another member of our community to speak to the tragedies that befall us when unaccountable law enforcement agencies come into town and commit murders. Because again, it's not just the FBI that Libby Schaaf invited into town. She invited in the ATF, and she invited in the California Highway Patrol. And inviting in the California Highway Patrol is inviting in an agency who, less than a year and a half ago, murdered Eric Salgado and has not been held accountable, has not answered for the murder, has done nothing to provide the community with the answers we need to keep ourselves safe. Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
That's right. And so I'm going to invite Amanda up here today to speak about her brother Eric, who was murdered by the California Highway Patrol, and what her journey for accountability has been like. Let's give it up for Amanda, everybody.
Hello. If I could, can I get a moment of silence, please? Because all this stuff is really heavy, and it's weighing on me as well. So if we could get a moment of silence for Jonathan, please. Thank you. My name is Amanda Mahayu Blanco. I'm the sister of Eric Salgado. I actually have something written for you guys today. I'm here to show support and to be in solidarity with the family of Michael J. Cortez. Eric was also murdered a year ago by CHP on June 6, 2020, by over 40 bullets, front and back, and killed his unborn baby as well. Over a year later, it hurts me that I'm here again next to Michael's family, tired and exhausted at the whole police department and the FBI and the CHP and the sheriffs, the whole government agency, and all those government officials who don't really move with integrity, who don't move with love, and don't move with morals. They move with greed and without remorse. They move in greed because they keep taking our family members away. They want us to live in fear and confusion. Both Michael and Eric have been robbed from their opportunity to raise their beautiful children and living with their families. You see, there's a whole family here, and there's more than one family here in support. And they've been robbed from that opportunity. Here I am over a year later, still in the same predicament. We also have not received no footage or haven't heard nothing from Libby Schaaf or the police department. We demand justice for Michael, for Eric, for Mario, for Steven, and for all the families who've lost people to police violence. Just like in Eric's case, we also demand footage for Eric's murder. We demand that we know the names of who murdered Michael. When is too many families enough to just get a response as to why OPD, CHP, and now the FBI move the way that they do. Don't they have families too? Don't they come home to families too? What if it was one of them? You know? So I'm here with a heavy heart, and I don't want to take too much time, but I just wanted to show support and solidarity here. I really pray that we get justice for Jonathan Cortez. Same with Eric Salgado and all the other families that are here with me. So thank you. Hi, I'm Rebecca with Anti-Police Care Project. I live a couple blocks from where this happened. I have some statements to read from family members. Either couldn't be here today, or they're too heartbroken, too outraged, too scared to come up here and speak, because that's what police terrorism does to us, right? This is from Mila Cortez, Jonathan's cousin. On September 13th, 2021, at approximately 3 in the afternoon, my cousin, Jonathan Cortez, was purchasing a Gatorade, beef jerky, and a Snickers bar from a store that his girlfriend lived near. Not knowing he will never have a chance of leaving out of that store alive, plainclothes officers rushed in the store with guns drawn, yelling, "Get down on the floor." The owners of the store quickly ran to the back because they thought they were being robbed. While my cousin was putting the items that he bought into his bag so that he could get onto his motorcycle, my cousin had his motorcycle on it, and he didn't even have a chance to address the federal agents while being shot point blank in the heart, where I know he died immediately. The store owners told us that Jonathan would come in 3 or 4 times a day, purchase snacks, and he would always place items in his bag. The store owners said they were outraged by these federal agents murdering my cousin in cold blood for nothing. They said he didn't have a weapon. Why would they shoot and kill him? Like, they didn't even address themselves. They just said, "Get down," and shot and murdered him in cold blood. Soon after they murdered my cousin, the store owner said that the feds snatched them out of their store and told them they were feds and they wanted whatever they want. And they can do whatever they want. They tore out the video footage. There were 4 cameras, and they cleaned up the entire murder scene and all evidence of them killing my cousin before letting the store owner and his family come back to the store around 4 a.m. It's been 3 weeks since Jonathan's murder, and we still have not received any video footage of his murder. It's clear that to all of us, the federal agents are hiding what they've done. We don't know the names of the agents who murdered Jonathan or who were involved, and they need to share that information with us now. Jonathan was a very loving and kind-hearted person. He was the baby of our family, and he was the father of 3. He always went out of his way to help people. He would even help complete strangers get into drugging and get off drugs and get into drug programs. He had so much more life to live, and he was robbed of his life and of his children's lives, as well as the rest of our family. We'll never see Jonathan again. He had so many plans for his life. One of the plans was he wanted to be a chef and get his own food truck. All of Jonathan's dreams are over now because of federal agents that did not know how to do their job correctly. They could have arrested Jonathan. They could have done so many other things to Jonathan, but killing him, what gives them the right to take an innocent person's life? We need answers. Now, for what really happened to Jonathan in that store, we demand to see the video footage. Days after Jonathan was murdered, they said he was armed. If so, prove it. We have never received any of Jonathan's personal belongings, all of his jewelry. They're keeping everything, as well as his murder. They're keeping his murder a secret to my family, and the public they have the right to know the truth. My cousin's life was taken from us, and if it couldn't only get worse, and if it couldn't get any worse, these federal agents harassed and racially profiled our family as a gang at my cousin's funeral for wearing his favorite colors, red and white, and started arresting our loved ones with their guns drawn in front of little kids and elders. I just want justice for my cousin's life that was ended at the hands of law enforcement so soon. I have a couple more that are handwritten. This is from one of Jonathan's uncles. I'm demanding justice for my nephew, Jonathan Cortez, who was shot and killed by the FBI agent who was part of the U.S. Marshals Task Force on September 13th in Oakland and Fruitvale Avenue on the 2500 block. They quoted they weren't sure whether he was the person they were looking for and what led to the use. They were looking for sure, and what led to the use of force. They also stated that their review process is thorough and objective and is conducted as expeditiously as possible. So far, we haven't seen or heard nothing from them. What are they hiding? They confiscated 4 video cameras and all of the equipment from the store in which they murdered my nephew. They need to release the video footage of what really happened inside that store. The store owner stated they didn't have to shoot and kill him. They lived above the store and was a regular customer who shopped daily at the store. The store owner said there wasn't any reason for that agent to shoot him. Jonathan didn't pose any threat to that agent. What justified him to kill my nephew? We need answers. We demand the release of all videos taken from the store and witnesses who saw what happened. We want justice for Jonathan. They said he was armed 3 days after killing him. Show the public him being armed. Why did it take 3 days to mention that information? The store owner disputed that accusation. He didn't see Jonathan with any weapon. As a matter of fact, when the agent rushed into the store with his gun drawn and shouted, "Get down," the store owner's son thought he was being robbed because the agent was in plain clothes and didn't announce who he was. He shot Jonathan as soon as he entered the store without warning. This is murder. No way around it. Please find justice for Jonathan. He didn't deserve to die like this. Thank you for your help. Justice for Jonathan!
Justice for Jonathan!
Justice for Jonathan!
Justice for Jonathan!
I have one more statement from one of Jonathan's aunts. It's in cursive. My nephew was young, polite, loving, and happy, and an extra friendly kind of person. He had a heart of gold to so many who knew him. Sorry, there's some of it I can't read. However, on September 13th, 2021, another choice was made by the FBI agent with special training tactics on how to apprehend a runaway suspect who might be an endangerment to society on oneself. However, we can clearly see that this was not the case scenario for Jonathan. Jonathan was standing up at the counter paying for his drink and jerky stick, going out to ride on his bike after shopping. He was abruptly killed without any given warning. This is an injustice and an outright murder of a father to 3 young children left behind. We demand that the killer agents be brought to justice and be charged. Justice for Jonathan!
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 Let's give it up for Rebecca for holding space and reading all those statements. Thank you so much, Rebecca, and for all the work that you've done supporting the family. I appreciate you so much. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
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 And then again, one more for the media and folks out here. Can I invite y'all? Can you please say his name?
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Thank you. Next up, we have Terha Ak of the Community Ready Corps. I can think of no better person to contextualize the FBI's actions and presence here in the city of Oakland. Thanks so much for being here, Terha.
So what I'm going to do is attempt to put it in a political context and say why it's so important to support this family and support this fight.
That's right.
Because when I step to the mic, it's always about organizing and it's always about doing something, right? I'm never gonna step up here and it's about rhetoric. It's about doing something. So I'm gonna tell you what you need to do and why you need to do it. So let me give you a little context, right? During the Oscar Grant rebellions, protests, the FBI doubled its floor space, right? It doubled its floor space in the Dellums building. This has been in effect. What you're witnessing is political aggression, political warfare against the people. We don't understand how this thing operates. So some of the shit I'm gonna say might not get on camera because they don't want this on the news, I guarantee you, right? So the shit I'm gonna say is gonna get edited out. But I'm speaking to the people and I'm speaking to the people, right?
That's right.
So, what I'm gonna say again, that this is political warfare and political aggression, and let me give you some context. The Oakland Police Department is and has been a political policing agency since the days of the Panther Party, which were coming up on the 55th, right? Policing in America is and has always been a political dynamic, a political military arm of the status quo. That's important because OPD has always had a special relationship with the FBI. They've had divisions of OPD that were trained, were liaisoning, coordinated with the FBI that still exists.
Yeah.
So when you see the OPD, since the days of Minister Huey P. Newton and the Black Panther Party, they have been an arm of political policing. So what that means is that when you see the police chief go on Fox News and slam city council members, that's political policing. When you see them actively counter duly elected officials, that's political policing. And let me tell you a little bit more about this context of political policing and why this is so important. This happened intentionally. Let me explain what I mean when I say that. There were cuts made to the OPD budget by Mayor Libby Schaaf and the city administrator, Ed Riskin. They made those cuts in order to give criminals the lane and avenue to take the city. I guarantee this won't get on camera. They cut the budget when they didn't have to, and then they blamed it on a newly elected progressive council because it's political warfare. It's political warfare. And under the rules of political warfare, which the FBI is an arm of political policing. Under the rules of political policing, it is not about the truth, it's about the organizable lie. And the organizable lie that they keep telling you is that defund did something. I thank George for putting it in context earlier. That defund did a thing that the mayor and the city administrator did. They did it on purpose. They're attempting to sabotage the gains and the wins that we have fought for. The people have stood up across the world, and saying, we sick of this shit. We want accountability. We want accountability. We want something new. And when you fail to invest in the status quo, they will go to war. They will go to war.
That's right.
That's historical. That's factual. Right? So that is what's happening in Oakland right now on all radical and progressive forces. So we arrive here. It is a false pretext that they needed to bring state troopers, the FBI, and the ATF into Oakland. They got more money this year than they did last year, a $38 million increase in that budget, but they're telling you, and this is what they're going through the districts telling folks, particularly in the districts where there's some council members who support defund, that they can't do their job because they've been cut. Their budgets have been cut, which is an absolute lie. They have more money, but somehow they're operating like it's a deficit. They've gotten federal monies to do more and they do less. So their pretext for bringing the FBI and the ATF and state troopers in was false. It's political warfare. Because what we've done is we got OPD's number. We've been whooping their ass politically for a long time now. We've been whooping their ass politically for a long time now. So what they did was they brought in forces, as my brother George said, that are harder for us to beat. Because we got a foot in the ass of OPD, then now they bring in the FBI. That's a whole nother fight. Because what I want y'all to know is this is indictable. You can guarantee that now our activism butts up against the FBI. And it's a whole nother political fight. I didn't come here to make you feel good. I came here to tell you the truth so you know what to do. If you don't support this family, they will be left out alone. How the fuck, excuse my language, but it's foul language for a foul situation.
That's right.
Harsh language for a harsh situation. How do you have a funeral burying your loved one? And the officer who killed him shows up. That's terrorism.
Say that.
That's terrorism. And if you don't understand that this is political warfare on this family, and that the only way they get through it is with y'all.
Everybody.
The only way we get through it is with y'all. The greatest protection that we have, the greatest protection that this family has is you. So I'm gonna say again, this is a call to action. Every time this family steps up, every time these activists step up and ask you to get in the streets, you get in the streets. You bring 5 people with you, bring 10 people with you. Why? That's the only thing that keeps us safe. That's the only thing. This is political terror, engineered by a mayor and a city administrator, operating as the arm of a larger entity. They cut the budget, allow crime to happen in order to make us scream and say, police us more. We ain't falling for it.
Nope.
It's a new day. This is the age where the revolutionaries win.
That's right.
This is the age where the activists win.
That's right.
This is our time. All we gotta do is stand the fuck up. My father told me the only way somebody can stand on your back is you bend over and left. So stand up. Stand with this family. Say his name.
Jonathan
Say his name.
Cortez!
We're gonna do this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Give it up one more time for Turhan Ak, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody, excuse me. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
To Turhan's point, this is nothing new. This is something that those who have been fighting against this system of terror have been fighting against indefinitely. And so we are privileged and honored to have Mama Friday here with us today. Mama Friday, whose son Colby Friday was murdered by law enforcement. And so it's always moving to see Mama Friday here, because when we talk about fighting and we talk about continuing the fight, there are very few people in the entire movement who have fought as strong and as long as this woman right here. So I'm pleased, ask everybody to give it up for Mama Friday.
First of all, I'd like to say I send my love, my condolences, my prayers to the family, I've spoken to them, I've greeted them, I'm praying with them, and I just want them to know that they're not alone.
That's right.
My son, Kobe Friday, was executed August the 16th, 2016, Stockton, California, by Officer Psycho Killer Cop David Wells. He approached my son, and he shot my son 13 times. He let out his whole clip on my son. All I can say today is no justice.
No peace!
No justice.
No peace!
No justice.
No peace!
They have killed many. They have an organization out there called the Rat Team in Stockton, California, and they have terrorized, bullied, murdered, killed, and executed people's loved ones. The same officer that killed my son also just killed another young man not long ago.
Shame.
When we said get them off the streets, told them we didn't want dirty cops in the community, take them off the streets. They would not take him off the street. He have killed again. He's a two-time killer. What's his name? David Wells. Officer David Wells. I come here to stand in solidarity with the family because this should not have happened. It should not have happened. My son had 4 children too. My family, we miss my son also. But I'm gonna do this until the day I die. No justice.
No peace!
Yeah, you get small victories and small wins, but the same year my son was executed, they had just passed the Identity and Racial Profiling Act. And yet and still, the act was in operation. It had been signed by the governor, and my son was still racially profiled, and he was still executed by a psycho killer cop, David Wells. So I say to the family, keep your head up, fight the good fight. There's many of us out here still fighting the good fight. I called Dion's son out, James Rivera Jr. I called Lisa's son out, Richard. I called the Clark family. I call all the soldiers that are standing, fighting for justice for their loved one. When her cousin got killed, we stood in the streets, we blocked East Oakland off, and we were fighting for justice for him and his family and his companion. Amen. So we're gonna be here, we're not going anywhere, and just remember, we are the ones that make the change. Who are we? We are the what? The people. We are the what? The people. We the people that make a change in the community on today. Thank you.
We're gonna say Kobe Friday's name. Say his name.
Kobe Friday!
Say his name.
Kobe Friday!
Say his name.
Kobe Friday!
Kobe Friday, murdered by the two-time killer cop David Wells. Say Kobe Friday's name one more time. Say his name.
Kobe Friday!
Say his name.
Kobe Friday!
Say his name.
Kobe Friday!
And again, I just want to speak to the strength.
The young man that got killed, his name is Antoine Price.
We're gonna say another name. Mama Friday wants to lift up the name of Antoine Bryce. Say his name.
Antoine Bryce!
Say his name.
Antoine Bryce!
Say his name.
Antoine Bryce!
And we know, those of us who have been doing this, that we could stand here saying names of people just killed in the Bay Area all day long. Those of us in this work carry those names with us, carry those histories in our hearts, and want everyone to know the magnitude of the death and destruction that we're facing here in the Bay Area, and despite that, the resilience of family members like Mama Friday, like the family of Jonathan Cortez, who in the face of violent FBI repression, right, still stand here today and demand justice. We have one more a statement from a family member of Jonathan Cortez that's going to be read by Rachel Kirkwood from Courage. Can we give it up for Rachel, who's going to come read this statement, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel from Communities United for Restorative Youth Justice, and I'm going to be reading today for Iris Cortez, Jonathan's sister, who could not be here today, but she's with us here in spirit. A couple of days ago, I laid my little brother Jonathan to rest. Michael Jonathan Cortez, also known as Jonathan, should still be alive and enjoying time with his family and friends. Jonathan was wrongfully killed by the federal agents and law enforcement. I want justice for Jonathan. It should not have to be this hard to lock someone up in FBI and law enforcement for a murder of a brother, son, father, cousin, or anyone that has been wrongfully killed by federal agents and law enforcement. We have seen this time and time again, where someone is being killed while shopping in a store, shot in the back at BART station, choked by a knee, killed while being pulled over, killed while stopping a fight, and killed for absolutely no reason at all. There must be consequences for federal agents and law enforcement, as they are humans killing humans. We just want what is right. We want the federal agents and law enforcement that was involved in the killing of Michael Jonathan Cortez to be held accountable for his murder. Now, I am not going against all federal agents and law enforcement, as I believe there are good-hearted people in that line of work. I just want the ones that are killing our brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, cousins, sons, and daughters to be held accountable like any other human that is held accountable for murdering someone. It is only fair that the rights are the same for everyone. Murder is murder, no matter who you are. Justice for Jonathan will not bring him back, but justice for Jonathan will bring us peace. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And thank you everyone for being here. We're gonna open it up. That's all the planned speakers we have for today. We're gonna open it up as we always do to any family members who'd like, or friends or community of Jonathan who'd like to take the microphone. Again, no pressure, but an open microphone for anybody who'd like to speak. It's a standing offer until we close here if anyone would like to speak. But again, we're going to close out with some chants here, y'all, because again, it's important that we remember why we're here. We've talked about the larger context of state violence, which is all well and good, but we're here today because Jonathan Cortez was stolen from this community, right? Because a law enforcement officer stormed into a convenience store where Jonathan was buying things that any of us buy when we go into the convenience store, and shot and killed him. Again, this FBI agent rushed into the store, first officer into the store scene alone, and shoots and kills Jonathan. That doesn't make any sense. That does not make any sense, right? For those of us who understand the way these systems work, an officer rushing in there and shooting and killing Jonathan within seconds when he went to the convenience store to buy some things doesn't make any sense. Again, a store Jonathan used to go into all of the time, right? What was normal was Jonathan going into the store, right? What was normal was Jonathan buying a Gatorade. What was not normal was an FBI agent entering the store with a weapon drawn, right? And now we have Jonathan dead and the FBI attempting to intimidate and harass the family at the funeral and who knows where else. Thank you. Forever helpful, this little one. The last thing I would like to say is to underscore what Turha said better than I could ever say, is that it is community that keeps us safe. When I say we keep us safe, it's not just some fun hashtag, right? It's because we truly do. And we need the community to wrap around the family in this time. We know what the FBI does, right? They try to isolate those who they have aggrieved, and then they attempt to discredit them to legitimize whatever actions they have taken. In this case, the murder of Jonathan Cortez. And we're here to say no. But again, this is a Monday morning action at 9:30. And look how many folks we have out here today, right? Let's see what we do next. That's right, give it up for yourselves for being here right now. And let's see what we do next, where we show up next, and how many folks show up. Because again, right, everyone here has been tasked by Turha by showing up next time with 5 more folks, right? And the time after that with 5 more folks. Because again, it is going to take all of us working together to hold this agency accountable. Thank everybody for showing up. And again, we're gonna close out by saying his name. Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!
Say his name.
Jonathan Cortez!